Do whatever you want. Maybe you can make that money or you look. I'm sure. Scotty, I'll just do this. This is a much better. That's fine. So this is just me recording that. I might use them all.
Yes, they're ready. Sila. One.
You ready for adventure? It's like only nine words. It's just the way.
This is the way. Okay, no more seats. Now.
Question for you. How are you with top secret stuff?
Yeah.
Actually. Testing. Ooh, how official. How are you doing today, y'all? Woo! My name is Scotty. Welcome to my panel here at Star Wars Celebration Japan. This is about Midi-chlorians, the alliance of science, mythology, and magic. For those that don't know, I do have some giveaways out right now. I've used some buttons. They should have all been passed out, and exclusive cards as well. And please, at the very end, there's a very special announcement at the very end of this panel that I have been, I guess, cooking up for 2 years now. So, I didn't know I was going to get a chance to do this, but here we are now. That being said, I obviously do not speak Japanese. For my friends that do speak Japanese here or read Japanese, you can scan this QR code and you have access to the full thing. You can read it at your leisure later, or if you want to read it as I speak, you are more than welcome to do that. So, all that's been provided for you. I'm going to give you a few more seconds for that, where you'll get that pulled up. I did use Google Translate, so it's not. I went in the Google Doc and I was like, translate to Japanese, so it could be a little messy. I'm sorry. But that being said, let's get started, bro. So, my name is Scott Jaro. My friends here, who are my friends here? They know me as Scotty Jaro. I'm the host of the Bomb Bag Cast, which is the show where my collaborator Jerry, the Canyon Junkie, and I, we explore the funny, niche, and often misunderstood topics of Star Wars. We look at everything every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We talk about all the obscure things, and we even watch some pretty odd VHS, oddities we find in thrift stores. So, or hard offs. Good story. But anyway, Jerry is not here today. He's one of my favorite people. He is back at home celebrating his daughter, Eleanor, and her birthday. So, on our podcast, I'm going to catch you that says Stay Bomb Bed. So, Stay Bomb Bed, Jerry Mel. He's actually doing a live stream right there on the phone. That being said, my wife, my biggest supporter, my best friend, could not be here as well. She is back at home. She has just 3 weeks left of law school in Louisiana, where I'm from. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have gone to my first one in Orlando. I wouldn't have gone to 2019, where I met my best friend Jerry. And I wouldn't have gone to 2022. And get this, in 2023, on April 8th, we got married. So I was not in London, unfortunately, but it was a good excuse. That being said, this is a tribute to me. I can't believe we made it here. I am so excited. I was that little boy right there. I love the Phantom Menace. You can tell I got my Pokemon cards. I got my N1 Starfighter in the back. You're getting some Star Wars Pod Racer on the N64 little dot that I had. So I feel pretty good. And in 2017, I did get a chance to meet Mark Hamill, so it was an absolute honor. But yeah, this is for that kid too. So thank you all for coming far and wide. How many of you are from Japan? Anyone here from Japan? Wonderful, excellent. Thank you so much. Arigato gozaimasu. How many of you traveled really far to get here? I am Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I located a very far way to get here. It's been wonderful. This is my 4th Star Wars celebration. It's my first time presenting something very close to my heart. I submitted this on October 24th, 2024. I like the number 10/24/24. It felt right. And I've legitimately been counting on the days ever since. I am a middle school educator. And I've been teaching at a small Catholic school for 6 years now, and I've won a lot of awards. I'm very, very fortunate. Awards on a university level, awards on a national and state level. I've been named Teacher of the Year at my school. Trust me, I can guarantee you, I promise you, you will learn something new. Promise. Now, take a second. I do this with my middle schoolers. We all need to take a second to reflect. If you think you know everything about midi-chlorians, just reflect on it. Give me a big thumbs up. Oh man, I knew there'd be one. There's one person that I can throw up. Now, if you're unsure, you want to learn a little bit more, you're kind of in the middle, let's get the thumbs in the middle. What we got? Oh my God. Okay. Now this is the one that this one right here. Thumbs down if you're lost. So you're like, man, what is this? Like, I never understood. And maybe a thumbs up if you don't like it. Does anyone not like it? Am I here to convert some people? No? Okay, so you're curious. Oh, I will convert. I legitimately will. I promise. People have often asked me, why do you like these things so much? What's the point? Why do you like it? Well, I never really knew until I started reflecting on this concept of making this panel. In February 2024, I created a 2-hour-long video essay on Midi-chlorians. 2 hours. 2 hours. It was a 222-page script, 200 hours of research, 200-page slideshow, compiling 24 sources, and I never paused to think, why am I doing this? I knew in my gut, I knew in my heart that I needed to. So after a lot of reflection, after a lot of conversation with myself in the car, I realized it. I really did. It reflects how I see the universe on a very emotional, philosophical, and ideological level. This principle, this idea, represents the very nature of how I see our universe. And they reflect how I see the world and the opportunity I have every day to make a difference, and I will begin to explain why. So, let's take our deep dive. It's going to be a deep dive, I promise you that much. It's a misunderstood concept. Often maligned or oversimplified, these tiny organisms are far more than a biological curiosity. They serve as a philosophical framework, a scientific analogy, a mythological symbol, and a storytelling device that ties the Star Wars saga together, and I will certainly do that. So, George Lucas himself once said, when I was 18, I was in an automobile accident. I had a near-death experience. I was taken away from the scene, presumed dead. And it wasn't until I reached the hospital that the doctors revived my heartbeat. This is the kind of experience that molds a person's beliefs. Most of my conclusions since have come from observing life. If I've learned anything, it's that these questions are unknowable for us as they would be for a tree or an ant. And here's an actual article of the image of the article of the crash. That's what George Lucas encountered at 18 years old. Changed his whole life. Scholars who study myth and religion have found the same sensibility through history. Life cannot be explained. It simply exists. There is no why. Life is beyond reason. One might think of life as a large organism with us of small symbiotic parts. On a spiritual level, we may be connected in ways that transcend life and death. I believe we share a collective life force, one that connects people, animals, plants, even the universe itself. We can't understand it with words, but I believe we all know it exists, even if it's beyond our conscious thoughts. If we have a purpose, it is to fit into a healthy symbiotic relationship with other life forms. Ultimately, we're trying to live in harmony with the life force. What life is really all about comes down to love and compassion, helping others without expectations, giving without receiving. Every religion, every prophet shares this message. This quote comes directly from the Star Wars archive novel by Paul Duncan. It came out in, I believe, 2022. It's a fantastic book. And it really is the very DNA of Star Wars. Completely in it. The DNA of Star Wars is in that quote. Midi-chlorians serve that narrative device, if you really reflect on it. With that in mind, let's start by exploring it, Midi-chlorians, from a philosophical perspective. So, Midi-chlorians as a vessel for themes and philosophy. George Lucas's near-death experience in 18 profoundly shaped his views on life. In his personal reflections, he realized that life is unknowable and deeply symbiotic, a theme woven throughout his creation of the Force. In The Phantom Menace, who loves The Phantom Menace here? Anyone else? When it came out to theaters last year, I saw it 9 times. Midi-chlorians are introduced in that movie, and I remember, how many of you were there in 99? Anyone? Okay. I know a lot of opinions in 99. I was 5, so I was just happy there. They symbolize more than just power. They embody the interconnectedness reflecting Lucas' beliefs of existence and unity. Some science lessons for y'all real quick. The film highlights this concept through a recurring theme of symbiotic relationships, which can be observed in biology as mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism, all which fit the film's narrative. So reflect on this. Mutualism, a butterfly and a flower. One gets nectar, and one gets a forced pollination. Wonderful. Benefiting. Commensalism. You got a bull shark and a remora fish. One obviously benefits the remora fish because it gets to eat the scraps from the shreds of the food that the shark has. And then, of course, think about Palpatine maybe here. Parasitism. You have a mosquito obviously draining the blood from the person. And blood is going to be very important in this. I know for those of my Midi-chlorians, it is very important. Mutualism is, of course, most evident in the relationship between the Naboo and the Gungans. Both are affected by the Trade Federation's invasion, but they initially see themselves as separate. Obi-Wan Kenobi has a wonderful quote in this scene. Unfortunately, the video for this is not going to work right now. Does anyone know the quote off the top of their head? Does anyone remember? No one? Okay. The quote is to, you and the Naboo form a symbiotic circle. What happens to you will affect the other. You must understand this. There we go. So, Boss Nass says what? Me so don't get about the Naboo. Well, what happens? You're watching the movie at the very end. They have an alliance. They join together. So, this reflects what George established in the Phantom Menace, the living force and the cosmic force. It is stated in the film's narrative. What is Qui-Gon's first line? Be mindful of the living force, everyone. It's a thing. It's already there. It's all laid out for you. You just have to choose to engage with it. The wellspring of life is where the force comes from. It's the origin of it. And that represents the cycle of it. And the cosmic force transforms into the living force, and vice versa. The theme is, of course, explored in the last story that George Lucas ever worked on in Star Wars. You must not forget that. Everyone thinks, oh, it was this, oh, it was this, oh, it was this. This arc at the end of season 6 that we all watched on Netflix back in 2013, that was it. That was George's last story. People forget that. This idea of symbiosis is not limited to fiction. It mirrors the real-world philosophy and science. How many of you heard the Gaia principle? What do you know about Brian?
The life force of the earth.
Anyone else add to that? No? Okay. The Gaia, thank you. Good job. Round of applause for Brian. James Lovelock, who's a philosopher, he came up with the idea that Earth functions as a self-regulating system where every organism contributes to the balance of life, each person. Though rooted in science, it carries a profound philosophical implication, and it challenges the idea of human control over nature, suggesting that instead we are participants in Earth's intricate web of life, we are not separate from it. And that's a very, very Western idea of thinking. If you go to America, you'll see that the streets and the neighborhoods are solely designed to destroy nature. That's true, however you look at it. When you go into a place like Japan, which I have seen with my own eyes, or even places like Mexico, nature is embraced. Nature is beautified. This aligns with many ancient philosophies and mythologies. For example, in Native American traditions, the earth is seen as a sacred living being. In the Lakota story of the white buffalo calf woman, this emphasizes the spiritual connection between humans and the natural world, where nature's gifts, such as water and plants and animals, are sacred. We must protect them. In Hindu philosophy, the concept of Midi refers to the cosmic order that binds the universe together. Humanity's role is to maintain balance and align with this order. And much like the Shinto belief in Kami, Kami dictates there's spirits that inhabit the natural elements, such as rivers, mountains, trees. These traditions emphasize cooperation in nature and reject the idea that humans are separate from it. I saw this firsthand. I was in Kyoto yesterday. I saw it with my own eyes. It was profound that I was there, and nature is simply part of the design. In Shinto temples, it's hard to tell where nature ends and human craftsmanship begins. There's a Shinto text that beautifies this. The process of nature cannot be evil. Every natural impulse is to be corrected. It's not to be corrected, but sublimated, beautified. This cooperation of nature creates something truly magnificent and a tremendous experience I will never forget personally. Lovelock's Gaia principle resonates deeply with ancient wisdom. It frames our understanding of Earth as a living entity that thrives on balance and mutual interdependence. These philosophies and scientific insights challenge us to think and rethink our approach to the environment, not as something to dominate, but as relationships to nurture. And one of my favorite scenes from every Star Wars ever, The Last Jedi, what a beautiful scene. They reveal a profound truth. To live well is to live in harmony with these interconnected systems. Embracing the symbiotic dance is to sustain life for millennium. This interconnected perspective perfectly parallels the Force. In summary, George Lucas saw the Force as life's duality. The living force tied to the immediate actions of beings, and the cosmic force, a vast pool of energy we're all think about it. They connect them. They symbolize the balance of individuality and interconnectedness. Now, before we dive into deeper, it's going to get deep. Very sorry. I hope you're ready to think. If we think about the real-world origins of religion and mythology, it all comes down to these same exact ideas. Midi-chlorians as a mythological and symbolic motif. The concept of an invisible plane of existence after death is a recurring theme in nearly every world mythology. Death, burial rituals, the notion of life beyond our known existence lie at the heart of how our myths are formed. Much of the thematic storytelling in all of Star Wars is seen and drawn from the human experience, really drawing heavily from the research of Joseph Campbell and other anthropologists who study these ancient myths. George Lucas, deeply inspired by Campbell, crafted Star Wars as a modern mythology. For those unfamiliar, there was a panel about Ahsoka and Joseph Campbell earlier today at the university stage. It was excellent. He was a renowned American scholar of comparative mythology and religion, best known for his work on the universal patterns found in myths across all cultures. His groundbreaking book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, introduced the concept of the monomyth, a hero's journey, which has always and will continue to influence storytelling in both ancient mythologies and modern narratives, including Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Just reflect on it. You can figure it out really quickly. Personally, Campbell is my favorite orator. I got dressed up because he would wear these same three-piece suits for his lecture. I had to fly this all the way here from Baton Rouge. J.C. Penney. No, but that being said, he is one of my biggest inspirations. I have a picture of him all. I bought a signed book by him. I love the man. But in Star Wars, Midi-chlorians serve this purpose, to reconcile the visible with the invisible. It is the connecting concept. So let's take a closer look at the origin of death in mythology. Campbell's idea of death as a gateway to mythology is clearly present in Star Wars. The Force itself operates as an invisible plane that's supported by midi-chlorians, which connect the physical and the metaphysical realms. Throughout the following video clips, which unfortunately will not play today, I thought I could download them, it did not work, but that's okay. I have the written script of it. He's in an interview with Bill Moyers for the Power of Myth series, and in this interview, he tied the idea of consciousness and aging, urging us to identify with the consciousness rather than the aging body. He further connects the invisible plane to the origins of mythology, explaining how early myths were linked to graves and the contemplation of life and death, before underscoring the role of societal myths, by affirming each individual's connection to something larger, be it a social group or a larger landscape. The video would normally play, but it's not going to. That's okay. I have a transcript right here. So it actually is fully broken down in terms of timing as well in the audiobook. So if you want to get the audiobook, it is on where you get the audiobook from. Moyers, he says this. Then there's that final passage through that dark gate. And then Campbell says this, live my best Campbell. Well, that is no problem at all. The problem is in middle life, when the body reached its climax of power and begins to decline, you identify yourself not with the body which is falling away, but with the consciousness of which is a vehicle. This is something I learned from my myths. What am I? Am I the bulb that carries the light? Or am I the light that the bulb is a vehicle? But this body is a vehicle of consciousness. And if you identify with the consciousness, you can watch this body go like an old car. There goes the fender, there goes the tire, and one thing after another, but it's predictable. And then gradually the whole thing drops off. And consciousness rejoins consciousness. It is no longer in this particular environment. And so here, they actually look at the idea of the beginning of mythology. So, you say that the image of death is the beginning of mythology. What do you mean? The earliest evidence of anything like mythological theming is associated with graves, for those that do not know. They suggest that men and women saw light and they didn't see it, so they wondered about it. It must have been something like that. You only have to imagine what your own experience would be. There was a person who was alive, born before you, and who is now lying there cold, beginning to rot. Something that was there is not, or is it now? Now, this has actually changed since 1987 when these interviews were conducted. We now know that animals do have a form of mourning. You can see dog experiences. Elephants also have burial rituals now, so it makes you kind of think about animal consciousness and what all that means. He says here, now that animals have experienced watching their companions dying, but as far as we know, they have no further thoughts about it. And there's no evidence that humans thought about death in a significant way until the Neanderthal period. And when weapons and animal sacrifices with burial, so what would happen is your family member would die, or someone in your tribe would die, and they would bury them with their collection, their swords, their whatever it is, their sticks, their weaponry, and maybe the jewelry. And this one right here is my favorite one. They talk about burials. However, we do have burials in the visible plane, and that's the most important in the visible one. to which we have to relate. I would say that the basic theme of all mythology, and you can think about this, is that there's an invisible plane supporting the visible one. What we don't know supports what we do know. Having explored this mythological concept of midi-chlorians, the symbols that bridge the material and the spiritual worlds, it becomes clear that their role in Star Wars mirrors humanity's age-old question of trying to understand existence through both myth and science. But as mythology seeks to reconcile the visible with the invisible, midi-chlorians provide a narrative framework where these realms intersecting, rounding the ethereal force in a tangible world of living beings. But this symbolism goes even further. Midi-chlorians extend into a biological theory, suggesting the force isn't just abstract mystical phenomenon, it is intimately tied to life itself. This biological foundation offers a fascinating parallel to our real-world exploration of life's interconnectedness. So, if you don't know what midi-chlorians are, this is where I actually tell you what they are. Okay? So we went through this whole thing so far, and for not even being explained what these things are. In Star Wars lore, as simple as it can be, midi-chlorians are described as a microscopic organism that allows beings to sense and interact with the Force. Very simple. This idea aligns with the real-world scientific pursuits, such as studying microbiomes, which you have in your guts, symbiosis, and even quantum biology to understand the unforeseen forces that bind life together. So in this next section, we'll look at all the quotes. These are direct quotes from George Lucas himself. It's kind of a hard person to argue with. So if you don't like it, it's all you. Drawing parallels to scientific principles in our world. So there's a very important image on this that I'm going to reflect on a lot later. Midi-chlorians is a biological theorem in our real-world parallels. And there's a reason why there's a sperm and egg cell there. Because that is key to a lot of this discussion. Every organism is connected to the Force by simply being alive, and upon death they return to it. This connection is not controlled by midi-chlorians. Please don't forget that. But by organisms' sensitivity to them, their openness to nature, and the acknowledgement of the Force's will. We saw that firsthand in Ahsoka, when Sabine was having a very hard time connecting to the Force. When she finally embraced it, what did she do? What did she do in that episode? Find out. Remember? There you go. So, I want you to just take a moment. You get to close your eyes and think it's going to help. Think about your own biology. The only reason you are here in this room at this very moment is because of this intricate work happening all within you. It's absolutely profound. Your consciousness and subconscious actions are governed by these biological processes. Take a moment. When you're hungry and your cells need energy, they're going to ask for it. You feel it in your gut when your tummy rumbles. When you're active and your cells demand oxygen, they release waste. This is out of your control. When you're tired, they trigger recovery, repairing your tissues. While you sleep, with my friend Sherry, you got to listen to the snow in Osaka. And so it's going to help them out. When injured, your cells clot blood and repair tissues. When you're under stress, they release adrenaline to prepare you for your action. Do you realize you are not in control? It's scary. It's scary. But that's life. Your cells, at this moment, are working around the clock, keeping you alive whether you think about it or not. It's profound. This is a constant dynamic exchange, and this perfectly mirrors the role of midi-chlorians in Star Wars, enabling life to flourish and connecting beings to the Force. George Lucas, as he said here, he drew parallels between science and myth. He described midi-chlorians as the Force's equivalent to mitochondria, the essential organelles in your body that just power your cells and cause your cells to split. This symbiotic relationship reflects the interconnectedness of all life. This is from the Critical Archive novel by Paul Duncan. Midi-chlorians are the equivalent to mitochondria in living organisms and photosynthesis in plants. I simply combine them for easier consumption by the viewer. Mitochondria create the energy that turns one cell to two cells. I like to think that life is unified and exists everywhere in the universe. It controls things, but you can also control it. That's why I split it into the living force and the cosmic force. These are all directly from George. When we die, we lose our persona and our energy is assimilated into the cosmic force. He also brings, this is the one thing I'm a little fuzzy on. I love all this, but the wills are the one thing that I think everyone's kind of so like, what do you mean by that? So the wills are like amoeba, okay? They're like fungi, they're like bacteria. There's a lot more of them than there are cells in your body. You may forget that. Your body's filled with a gut biome, and in that gut biome, there's a ton of bacteria. We have to treat it respectfully because it is in a true symbiotic relationship with the rest of your body. The wills be in the Force and Midi-chlorians work for them, creating a symbiotic hierarchy that reflects the interconnectedness of all life. Everyone got mad. Who got mad? Anyone got mad in here? Did it bother you? That's fair. It might have bothered you a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't after this. Everyone was mad at you're just doing science. Well, this isn't just science. This is indeed just as mythological as anything else in Star Wars. It sounds scientific, but of course, inevitably, this is all still fiction, my friends. He stressed the balance needed within these microscopic entities. One-cell organisms need balance, both good and bad. If they go out of balance, life is extinguished, and the dark side takes over. This biological concept of midi-chlorians deepens the mythology of Force, emphasizing the symbiotic relationships that underpin existence. Through midi-chlorians and the wills, Lucas reinforces the overarching themes of balance, harmony, and connection at the heart of Star Wars by bridging the tangible and the mystical. He presents the Force as both a unifying life force and a reflection of nature's order. So this is a controversial interview. I don't know who's watched this interview. It's James Cameron talking to Jordan Matei. Great interview. Okay, it came out on AMC in 2018. And it was amidst, everyone's feelings towards The Last Jedi and Solo, and then he comes out and he says something along the lines of, in my sequel trilogy, I would have done, and we're going to talk about it. But the thing is, the best information came from the uncut interview in the companion novel. They did not show this on the AMC special, which you can buy. In the conversation, Lucas and James Cameron discussed the mythic and biological foundations of the Star Wars universe. Lucas emphasizes predestination as a blend of genetics and inherent talent rather than just the idea of fate. People say, oh, but biology enjoy it. But we all have talent. Those of us with talent know that we are different from other people. And of course, my favorite symbolism in all of Star Wars is always a bigger fish. This follows the concept of the Force explaining how midi-chlorians serve as a bridge between life forms and the wills, the universe's controlling entities. He highlights the ecological message underpinning Star Wars. What you do to somebody here affects somebody there. It comes back to you. You have to understand you are part of a very big picture. There is always a bigger fish, Alden, reflecting on the complexity of his creation. Lucas shares his regret of not being able to fully explore it. And this is where the people are like, oh, if I owned the company, I could have done it. Of course, a lot of fans hated it, which I think would be true. I would love it. Just like the Phantom Menace. But at least the whole story has been told from beginning to end. And of course, they talk about other ideas in science and mythology. Midi-chlorians are mitochondria. It's a combination of mitochondria and chlorophyll being the life force that happens in water, mitochondria, not water, sorry, plant life. And then, of course, it gets really weird and scientific. The conversation is the nature of life itself, and if there's any aliens out there, the extraterrestrial possibilities. And then, of course, a very strong opinion on this, which I thoroughly believe in, I'm sure some of you do too. If we find life, I know it'll be bacteria. Bacteria are smarter than we are. They rule the universe, and we depend on them as much as they depend on us. What a humble way of thinking, right? They're so complex. They just exist. We have to rationalize our existence for some reason. And of course, James Cameron says it best. Humans on the competitive aggressive side, but also a comparative, cooperative side. You took that and wrote it large across the whole galaxy. In this exchange, Lucas provides a fascinating glimpse into the blend of mythology, religion, and science, showing how midi-chlorians reflect the interconnectedness of life and how we are intended to play a larger role in future stories. The Force represents both power and empathy, illustrating the true strength that lies in balanced harmony. One of my favorite images I would ever show in my science class when I taught 7th grade science is this image alone. You've got atoms. Atoms, of course, make up molecules. Molecules then make up compounds. Compounds will then inevitably make up cells. Cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, organs make up organ systems make up organisms, and then it gets bigger. Multiple organisms make up a population. Multiple different organisms make up a community. The community is then made up of the environment, which is going to be called the ecosystem, and then last but not least, you have the biosphere. We are all connected, even if it's not something you reflect on. So, my favorite part. In this next segment, we're going to look at it and his ideas across books, TV shows, movies, enriching rather than contradicting his original vision. For those that don't know, and I don't know much, they, in any process, and in all the new stuff that we've gotten under the Disney banner of Star Wars, they take the Force the most serious. And you can see that in any interview with any creator, and they specifically honor George's point of view. We're going to look at it. Who's ready for this? This is probably what you came here for. I'm sorry, I had to get my whole preaching thing. I'm my favorite logo, by the way, I don't know about y'all, this is my favorite logo, that Finkel era logo, that bright gold. So, Midi-chlorians as a mechanism for lore. So far, we focused on Lucas's insights and commentary for research into philosophy, mythology, and biology. Now, or kind of what you're here for, we turn to the in-universe moments from both canon and now legends, drawing from the works like Darth Plagueis, The Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope. What? Midi-chlorians, A New Hope. Empire Strikes Back. Yep. The Mandalorian, The Rise of Skywalker, this is the best. The Bad Batch, and of course my favorite, probably the most controversial to some people in here, The Acolyte. The following information comes from a Force.net interview on January, what's on this page? Oh, it's on here. It's on here. But it's from January of 2012. I did the research and you didn't have to. Of course, the Plagueis book focused on the dark side of the Force and how the Sith manipulate life to achieve their goals. How many of you have read this or listened to it? I listen to it once a year. It is my all-time favorite EU book. It's absolutely fantastic. The book dives into the Midi-chlorian one, particularly the dark side manipulation of life itself. According to January 10th, George Lucas played a key role in the novel's early development. For those that don't know, most of these types of stories really don't go across this table. And at the time, they didn't go across this table. This one did. This is a big deal. Lucas approved the actual design from Dave Lucina, and he decided that Plagueis should be immune, which the Acolyte made canon. Fantastic. This early input helped solidify Plagueis' identity and set the tone for the novel. And that's one of the few concept arts that have ever been released. You don't realize how much digging I had to do to find that. So throughout the writing process of Darth Plagueis, Lucino did not work with Del Rey, which is a surprising thing to hear. Del Rey is the company that, of course, publishes all of Star Wars novels. But he worked directly with Howard Rothman, okay? Howard Rothman is like Lucas's right-hand man at the time of Lucas licensing. He had a bunch of really good back and forths. Lucino never actually talked directly with George Lucas, but of course it aligned with the Lucasfilm's vision in the end. So, one of the novel's key themes, Darth Plagueis' obsession with manipulating the Midi-chlorians was directly tied to the philosophy and the mythology in the Phantom Menace. Initially skeptical of Midi-chlorians, Lucino embraced them as an essential to the saga and wove them in Plagueis' character. This allowed Plagueis to be portrayed as both a researcher and a mystic, adding complexity while exploring the dark side of manipulations of life. In later portions, which makes it even more canon to me, it makes I wish it was, Lucino, actually collaborated with Dave Filoni directly during the making, I believe, of season. Which one is Mother Talsum show? 4? Is it season 4? 4. Okay, thank you. Shout out to you. All right. He worked directly with Dave Filoni to develop ideas of the origin of Darth Maul, the how Mother Talsum ties to all of this. And at the time it was released, it was noted that this is canon at its highest level. It went through so much approval from George himself, and Dave Filoni, and Howard Rothman. That is crazy. And of course, Darth Plagueis still influences the canon as of right now in the Secrets of the Sith novel and a recent tease in The Acolyte. In the novel, for those that don't know, how many of you, so I already asked that. Okay, so for those that don't know, fantastic novel. I'm going to spoil a little bit. In a novel, the exploration of Midi-chlorians intertwines with Plagueis' ambitions. It begins with Plagueis observing the dying state of his master, the very opening chapter, Darth Temrus, is studying the state of his master at his death, and what happens to Midi-chlorians as his life fades. Instead of merely carrying the Force, he sees them as translators of its will. Despite his use of experimentation, he struggles to manipulate them to prolong life. This raises the intriguing questions about whether Midi-chlorians behave differently in Jedi compared to those that are naturally and embracing the dark side. The plot unfolds and gets way more intense. Plagueis reflects the limitations of conventional Midi-chlorian accounts, and he realizes that he can use his dark side powers to sense the strength in the Force in other people, but most importantly, their Midi-chlorian makeup, allowing the Sith to identify potential recruits. Well, you wonder who he meets, okay? However, he contemplates the inevitability of Midi-chlorian dispersal at death and the difficulty of manipulating them to extend life. This leads him to studying ancient Sith knowledge, such as essence transfer. That's coming back, okay? That's something we'll look at a lot. And of course, tampering with life itself. The story also explores the idea that Midi-chlorians resist manipulation that might threaten the balance of the Force, but compel to serve the needs of the body, particularly in weak-willed beings. Plagueis and Sidious experiments highlight their desire for immortality and their control over life itself. That's what the Sith want. The Sith seek immortality and creation for all the wrong reasons. Plagueis and Sidious attempt to manipulate Midi-chlorians to shift the balance of the Force irreversibly to the dark side, and this is where it gets tricky. Their ambitions culminate in the novel with the accidental creation of Anakin Skywalker, appointed seed of the Force, whose unprecedented Midi-chlorian account makes him a pivotal figure in the unfolding events of the galaxy. This revelation underscores the unpredictable nature of Midi-chlorians in shaping destiny and the consequences of their manipulation. But we're going to look at this in a different way in a moment. The climax of this narrative is marked by the confrontation between Plagueis and Sidious, which of course you hear in Revenge of the Sith. Having learned from his master, ultimately portrays Plagueis, mocking him for his attempt to control life and death. This moment is filled with as Plagueis, who believed he could dominate the Force, becomes a victim of his own philosophy. You saw this in 2005. This story highlights the flaws in Plagueis' understanding of the Force and the consequence of its manipulation, leading readers to reflect on the delicate balance between ambition and the natural order of the universe. Through these themes, the scene embraces the lore of Midi-chlorians while inviting a deeper reflection on power, control, and the essence of life itself. If you haven't read the novel, I suggest you read it, listen to it. It makes everything so scientific and cool. I love it. And of course, it actually looks at the Phantom Menace from a very different perspective. Arguably my favorite story from the Eve for that reason. So, speaking of Plagueis, when we first heard about it was in 2005. So let's look at that scene from the perspective. This is the part, I'm hoping that this is the part where you go, whoa. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I'm a teacher. I've seen kids do that. I'm like, well, clicks off. So following this, we will then examine the Jedi perspective of Midi-chlorians. It's going to be kind of cool. We're going to do dark side, Jedi, and then the very. So this 5-minute scene is exactly 5 minutes. And Revenge of the Sith, that's one of the most powerful moments in the prequels. J.J. Abrams has even described it as his favorite scene in the prequels. This scene runs from 42 minutes and 40 seconds to exactly 48 minutes. That's a long scene. That's like 5 minutes and 20 seconds, a long scene. And it's just dialogue. But it's the story of Darth Plagueis told from Chancellor Palpatine's perspective to seduce Anakin to the dark side. Ironic. Okay, originally set in Palpatine's office. For those that do not know, this is from the Blu-ray commentary of Revenge of the Sith, and it's the creator's commentary. It's not the commentary from the actors and actresses. This visual centerpiece, Squid Lake, features Mon Calamari performers swing through spheres of water with streamer-like tails. To me, on a very subconscious level, I had a deep realization leading up to the Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to reenact it. I was teaching middle school science, 7th grade at the time. I'm sitting here with my buddy Eric Cotterman right here. We're watching it. We're watching this scene. I'm like, what does this scene really mean? Like, George is such a good visual storyteller. And so it clicked. Boop! It was like November of 2019, right when we started the Bombad cast. To me, the imagery in this scene, though it is very subconscious, and maybe it was on my head too much because I was teaching it to 7th graders, and that's uncomfortable to talk about. This scene visually represents the formation of life itself. You've got these Mon Calamari streamers swimming in and out of orbs of water. This looks like the creation of life. This is a whole life, and you see it happen before your eyes. This opera scene marks a critical moment, the descent that exploits Anakin's fears of losing Padme, this selfish loss, his desire to power and prevent death. Palpatine tells the story of Darth Plagueis to plant the seeds of doubt and temptation, presenting the dark side as the path to control life and death. This scene symbolizes the distortion of the natural order, both in the Force and biology embodied by Midi-chlorians. My boy Rick. I love my boy Rick, y'all. Who likes Rick McCallum? Woo! I'll do my best to call him. Fantastic. He's always shooting up. Alright, that being said, in the actual Blu-ray of Revenge of the Sith, he describes the scene as creepy, audacious. And a bunch of big producer words. It's just, he's so cool. Highlighting how bold it was to discuss such an essential plot point in this setting. And this is from Rick McCallum himself, okay? Rick McCallum calls it a crucial element in revealing Anakin's origins. He says that Palpatine's confession, word for word, is implying Anakin's eventual fall, and that his high midi-chlorian count is not natural, but a result of being conceived by the Force itself. Remember that line. By the Force itself. There was a lot of controversy when The Acolyte came out. I'm going to clear that up for you right now. This theory reinforces that Palpatine and Darth Plagueis played a role in Anakin's creation. But the scene ultimately represents the final cinematic expression of the clones. We have not seen them since 2005. I'm dying to see some stuff. 20 years ago. We haven't talked or seen them until the Bad Batch, literally last year. They were not mentioned. Incal. Makes me so mad. I love Lucasfilm. I love giving this opportunity. Single word. That Anakin isn't the only being crafted through manipulation of the Force. We must direct our attention to the twins. Remember that? In The Acolyte. You with me. I'm with you. Always one, but born as two. As above sits the stars, below lies the seas. I give you, you, and you give me, me. The Acolyte explores this deep Force-related themes, focusing on life's creation and midi-chlorian manipulation. Central to its story are two twin sisters, Osha and May Anastasia, whose origins are tied to the Force virgins and a deliberate manipulation of life itself. The influence of Darth Plagueis serves as a fan narrative backbone the entire time, exploring the balance between light and dark through creation and destruction. Mother Anastasia, love her to death. She talks about the philosophy of the thread as a unifying force that life echoes Qui-Gon's teachings about the symbiotic connection between living beings and the Midi-chlorians. Her words, pull the thread, change everything. It ties you to your destiny. It binds you to others. The power of one, the power of two. This reframes the Force as an interconnected web that can be manipulated to alter existence. It is dark side magic. Don't forget that. She tells the twins, when the thread is tied together, no one can separate. Emphasizing the permanence of their connection to the Force. Mother Coral's question in what happens if the Jedi find out how who created them hints at their unnatural origins. Torben even has a revelation. Even identical twins would have different symbiotes. This is impossible without some kind of manipulation. This links the twins' shared symbiotes, like the Midi-chlorians, to their creation. His statement, the end count is very high. Their symbiotes are the same. Suggests that Osha and May were initially created. This mirrors Anakin Skywalker's mysterious conception and ties the Sith experience of life's creation, but for real, listen to me. If you learn anything, it better be this. When this came out, you saw all the terrible, I'm not going to say what people put it out, but articles about how this is negating what the Force did and what George Lucas did. You are wrong. There are YouTubers that said the same crap. It makes me mad because it makes me look like a crazy person, and I am. But you must realize that whatever you read on the internet, you've got to think twice. Whatever range-based stuff you watch, you've got to think twice about it. This does not negate Anakin's unique role. He was born of the Force itself. That's strictly stated. That's stated throughout the whole thing. Osha and May were created through manipulation of the Force. Their shared symbiotes confirm their existence as a version of the Force shaped by unnatural means. This right here is proof that these two do not negate this person, okay? Good Lord, it makes me so mad. You see all the YouTubers give me a second. I do this in my classes when I get mad. Okay, The Stranger. Who thought The Stranger was cool? But it was cool. He loved the idea of the power of two. Now, wait a minute. Where else have we heard that? Of course, Sith knowledge, but we see this a lot later. The dyadic connections in the Rise of Skywalker. This motives aligns with Plagueis' mission of midi-chlorians. Torben's observation of virgins could create life like we have not seen this planet explicitly ties the twins' existence to Plagueis' methods. Soul says this: you are not twins, you are not even sisters. She created life, she created your lives. I believe she used the Force to create you and Ocean. This solidifies that midi-chlorians connection to manipulation. He concludes only a virgin could create that type of power. Osha and May's immense power is hinted at by the Stranger. When they find out how powerful you are, clearly drawing parallels to Anakin's destiny as the chosen one, possibly born of similar manipulation by Darth Plagueis. Perhaps this is how the Force struck back after Plagueis is manipulated life. Of course, we can see here that one little moment. I was on a beach vacation with my family. I was with my cousin and his son, and I lost my mind. He showed up, there he was. That being said, this really deepens our understanding of the Sith's ambitions. Of course, the Acolyte, obviously, we look at twins. This, however, same exact thing. Luke and Leia, how do they tie into all this? Well, one of the few things that were cut out from Revenge of the Sith was this. In the art of the Revenge of the Sith novel by J.W. Rizzo, it's revealed that Padme Amidala had midi-chlorians that were in her, obviously, because of the pregnancy that she had with Anakin and Luke and Leia. This concept is supported by several pieces of scrap concept art, highlighting Padme's intensified connection to the Force. Ian McCabe, he's one that designed these, and George Lucas absolutely loved them. Right here is a very, very cool visual example. She had waking visions of Mustafar in her dreams, where she first saw Anakin being rescued by droids. Sleepwalking manifestations of the Force, such as levitating rocks. Most importantly, hunched over in pain because the midi-chlorians flowing throughout her body, which she had no control over because of Luke and Leia. These moments never made it to the final film, but they do suggest that Padme did have a connection to the Force through her pregnancy, and she was much stronger than we previously believed. And unfortunately, not to harp on it, but we need more Padme in Star Wars, because that's how we get it. Now, while her latent Force sensitivity remains speculative, these unused concepts have sparked ongoing fan debate. What? The OT is midi-chlorians? Yeah, Chad, it does. So, from the lights of the Force, death is only the beginning. This is in 1977. What do we hear? Use the Force, Luke. That is midi-chlorians. Something about being connected through life itself, living, and the cosmic force. What? Empire Strikes Back? Yes, indeed. Obi-Wan shows up on Hoth, offering glimpses of the deeper connection between the living and the Force. One of the best moments in all of Star Wars, I'm sure a lot of you can agree with me, was this scene on Dagobah about the nature of the Force. When Luke fails with his X-Wing, Yoda says this: size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? And as well as you should not. For my ally is the Force. Life creates it, makes it grow. Energy surrounds us, binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this true matter. You must feel the Force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, between the land and the ship. They don't measure midi-chlorians. I know that. But it's very evident that George had these ideas in his brain in 1978 when writing the script. Clone Wars, however, this one does it, baby. And we'll look at this idea as well, because Yoda is the main focus of this next portion. So, this is the end of season 6, and at the end of season 6, it is all about living and cosmic force. In the first episode, Yoda encounters Qui-Gon Jinn. It explains the very nature of the Force. I am a manifestation of Force, a force that consists of two parts. Living being generating the living force, in which turns the wellspring that is the cosmic force. This establishes the foundational relationship between living beings and the Force, emphasizing that midi-chlorians serves a conduit for this connection. Qui-Gon continues, all energy in the living force from all things that have ever lived feeds into the cosmic force, binding everything and communicating us through midi-chlorians. So, as you can see, it's a cyclical nature. They must cycle. The Force Priestess here, Serenity, explains it best. The audio clip won't play, but I'll read it. The birthplace of what is the key element? I'll highlight it. You got a laser. Oh! Yeah, okay. A trick element. The birthplace of what your science, your possessive, calls midi-chlorians, the foundation of what connects living beings and the living force and the cosmic force. When a living thing dies, all is renewed. Life passes from the living force into the cosmic force and becomes one with it. One powers the other. One is renewed by the other. This revelation of midi-chlorians is a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms, reinforcing the idea that all living things exist in a symbiotic relationship. In the priestess guide, Yoda is learning how to retain his consciousness after death. At death, in order for you to preserve your identity, you must know yourself, your true self, and then let go. Much like Ben Solo does. I'll get to that. You will learn to preserve your life force and thus manifest a consciousness that will allow you to commune with the living after death. This lesson emphasizes the Jedi perspective. The force is a natural symbiotic cycle. Death is not an end, but a transformation. I hope you feel the same exact way with the cosmic force. Serenity's words illustrate how life and death are part of a greater balance, which the Jedi seek to understand and embrace. However, the Sith do everything they can to negate and go against. Their concept of neutrality is rooted in fear and domination. They seek to prolong life through dark means, anchoring their essence in objects, other beings, and of course, clones, Palpatine, resulting in the fractured existence marked by suffering and pain. Unlike the Jedi, who retain their identity, the Sith do everything they can to cling to life and fight it, becoming and never having a chance to be truly one with the Force. This highlights the Sith's misunderstanding of nature. While the Jedi's path leads to renewal, balance, and of course, the ability to transcend death, the Sith path is one of isolation, despair, and attachment to the force of natural cycle. Think Anakin, think Palpatine, think Maul, think of, I don't know, all those EU ones that I don't know. Ultimately, the relationship between the Jedi and the Force is the concept of neutrality is central to understanding the deeper philosophical and metaphysical aspect of Star Wars. The ability to transcend death is closely tied to one's comprehension of the Force. The Jedi achieve it to balance harmony. The Sith refuse to let go, leads to stagnation and suffering. Who loved this show? Oh my God. Obi-Wan the entire time is struggling, he's fighting it. I don't know who I am. I'm a failure. His spiritual growth, which happens between these two children, is why the man he is in A New Hope. He did not know, and he kept asking to connect with Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon, come to me now. And of course, in this beautiful moment, at the very end, Obi-Wan says, I would be anything you'd ever come. And Qui-Gon replies, I was always here, Obi-Wan, the cosmic force. You were just not ready to see it. This emphasizes the Force is ever present. It is the individual's readiness that determines their ability to connect with it. Further insight is from Claudia Gray, who loves that Claudia Gray novel, Master and Apprentice. Okay, before she did that, she did that from a certain point of view book on the 40th anniversary in 2017 of A New Hope. Absolutely fantastic work. And she quantified this idea the best without even stating that midi-chlorians are in it. No place is barren of the Force, and they who are one with the Force can always find possibility of life. Next comes the illusion of linear time. Only then does a sense of individuality arise, a remembrance of what was and what is, a knowledge of one's life, is separate from the Force. Okay? This is the entire philosophy of the Jedi, right? And Obi-Wan's self-sacrifice solidifies that. When he's cut in half, he disappears. He goes back into the cosmic Force. He embraced it. Qui-Gon allows his awareness to spread outward, this is a beautiful line, until he's one again with the Force. As Obi-Wan will soon learn, the most beautiful form of mastery is the art of letting go. Now, who loved this show? Oh my God! Okay, I got like 8 minutes, so I can do this quick. So, this can be seen, the same ideas can be seen from the Empire's perspective, as well as the Sith. Long before the Mandalorian, long before going to Skywalker, the Empire's experiments with cloning midi-chlorians took a critical turn in the Bad Batch. As you know, the big point of this is that idea of Project Necromancer, with Palpatine wanted to have clones of himself due to the advanced science division. And of course, Omega was the key to all of this. While all of these beings possess midi-chlorians, their concentration varies. Anakin being the one that has the highest count of midi-chlorians, it indicates potential. It doesn't indicate actual power. For my people that think the Force of midi-chlorians are like XP and anything, they're not. Okay, Just hope you know that. Palpatine's ultimate goal for Anakin was to achieve immortality, cloning, and he learned that implants degrade during these processes, learning to be clones incapable of accessing the Force. This focused on two important concepts: Omega and Force-sensitive children. Omega, for those that don't know, spoiler, is a unique clone of Jango Fett. She was pivotal because of her genetic stability. She could retain imcounts. She could retain midi-chlorians in her body, though she was not inherently connected to the Force. They had them. She had them in her. Now, the second clone involved children. They would draw the blood from the children. They would then find some way to mix it using and trying to use Omega's blood to then, of course, create clones that were able to hold midi-chlorian counts. It never worked. It never worked. The same thing was tried on General Grievous as well. But Palpatine's clones much later worked. It produced mixed results. Dathan, who was Rey's father, lacked Force sensitivity, while Rey became highly Force attuned. Omega's significance lies in her genetic capability, which allows for successful imcount retention during cloning. Her compatibility made her indispensable to the Empire's plans by blending scientific explanation with mystical properties of the Force. Project Necromancer demonstrates the Empire's obsession with ultimate power. Of course, we see this with Grogu, one of the greatest introductions of the character of all time. We did not know at the time when it came out why he served a narrative purpose. Well, it was because Moff Gideon really wanted some imcount blood, and Grogu was the only Jedi they could find and drain blood from. And of course, this fixation he had draws perfectly parallel to the Sith's ambitions and experience of cloning. Palpatine also had this understanding at that time. He had a question of mortality in Rise of Skywalker, exemplifies the Sith's warped understanding of the Force. According to Ray Park's novelization, his consciousness transferred across the galaxy into a clone body, falling. The Empire called all the dark power of the Force to thrust his consciousness far, far away. His mind jolted in new awareness of his body, a painful one, a temporary one. You can see it there. It's disgusting. But this emphasized Sith are seeking to preserve their life through experimentation at any cost. Carson describes the creation of Palpatine's genetic clone. Nothing worked, but their efforts were not entirely in vain. One genetic strand castrator lived, thrived even in not quite identical clone, his son, but he was a useless, powerless failure. This kind of makes you think about everything Palpatine did. And of course, Rey Skywalker's story. Rey's connection to the living and cosmic force is deeply intertwined with this idea of the dyad that she shares with Ben Solo, embodying themes of balance and selflessness and mortality. Her victory is shaped by her bond with past Jedi and Ben Solo's life force transfer, highlighting the relationship between the living force and the cosmic force, and then marrying all these ideas in a beautiful finale for you. In the finale, Rise of Skywalker, the force dyad between Rey and Ben Solo amplifies the connection far beyond what typical force users can achieve. Their midi-chlorians resonate on a much deeper level, allowing them to perform extraordinary feats such as passing objects through space, like transferring life energy. In the Secrets of Sith novel, it is stated, a pairing of two beings strong with the Force linked together by an unbreakable bond, granting the ability to heal and share vitality. This connection demonstrated when Ben sacrifices to restore Rey's life, symbolizing the balance of life and death. This living force and cosmic force literally communicate through her. She hears all the Jedi of the past. Every Jedi who ever lives in you now. Midi-chlorians. These forces reflect the ongoing cycle of life and death connecting Rey to generations of Jedi she never even knew. The continuous presence of the living and the cosmic force are seen in The Rise of Skywalker. It is a brilliant movie. Rewatch it. It's so special for this reason. Rey's journey ultimately embodies the harmony of living and the cosmic force working together after this. The cosmic force governs the universe's overall flow, connecting past, present, future. All of it reflects destiny. And Rey, of course, a power like itself, like Palpatine says, this dyad is the importance of preserving and restoring balance in the galaxy. Her victory over Palpatine is not just a personal triumph. It is literally the cosmic and the living force working together to find balance. One of my favorite things that most people don't really think about. Anakin's, redemption is in this moment, right? You can see it visually. They die. They couldn't save each other. Anakin dies and Padme dies. But his death is not lost. It's an act of redemption. Ben Solo living. This self-sacrifice reflects the larger truth of the Force and requires balance between life and death, the eternal cycle where one life ends and another one is renewed. Rey's final act is more than a personal victory. It is the culmination of the Force's enduring struggle to maintain harmony in selflessness, connection, and destiny. The voices of past Jedi are guides and evidence of the Force's ongoing cycle, always present to those who are attuned to it. Much like Obi-Wan's experience speaking with Qui-Gon Jinn on the sands of Tatooine. Part 5, the last part, very short. Midi-chlorians as a meditation on life and the Force. George Lucas' profound reflections on life and consciousness resonate deeply with the thematic narrative of Midi-chlorians and the Force. His words, Lucas emphasizes the noble nature of existence, not noting that questions about life are as mysterious for us humans as they would be for a trainer ant. This sentiment perfectly mirrors the elusive and enigmatic nature of midi-chlorians. What a great shot. Lucas believes that life's akin to a large organism lines with the trail of midi-chlorians is this interconnected thread that unites individuals, animals, plants, and the universe itself. It is a beautiful, and it's so much more than a narrative device. It's a symbol. It symbolizes the bridge between science and spirituality, the individual and the collective, the tangible and the mystical. Midi-chlorians also invite us to reflect on our own place in the universe. In the real world, our bodies are ecosystems. Remember that. Cells, bacteria, symbiotic relationships, and microcosm of the interconnectedness that Lucas' vision. His analogy encourages us to contemplate the profound symbiosis that binds us all together, reminding us of Yoda's timeless wisdom. Luminous beings are we not this crude matter? Through the lens of midi-chlorians, we glimpse the luminous connections that link every single living being. Woo! The part I've been waiting for. I've been dreaming this moment for 2 years. I wrote a book. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this panel and you really liked it, the forwards are my friend Alden. Can you stand for 1 second? Alden wrote the forward to this as well. Absolutely beautiful. It was reviewed by Alex David on the back of it. You can read it here. And of course, it was reviewed by Ken Knapsack from Force, and a really good friend of ours. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you scan that, it will take you directly to the Amazon link. All you got to do is scan it, and you get a copy of the book. What I do with Joseph Campbell books, I usually read them, and I'm not Joseph Campbell. I'm Scott Jarrow. But I read them, and I highlight, and I reflect. So hopefully this gives you an opportunity to reflect and think about it. I cannot thank you enough for coming. Stay on that. Thank you. I want to get a selfie real quick with all of you. Can you do that real quick? Can you get a selfie? If you want to be in it, all right. Let's try. I can't fit everyone. Ready? You're all my first con group. Congratulations. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Thank you again, seriously, for coming. I'm absolutely glad. Thank you all. If you want to, you can scan it and you get a copy of the book right there. Thank you so much for coming. It was an absolute honor. Stay on that. Thank you. Stay on that. Stay on that. Thank you so much. If you liked it, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I had an absolute blast. Hope you have a great rest of your celebration. Oh, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's amazing. Have a great rest of y'all celebration, okay?
How was the way tonight? Do you have any free time for me to buy you dinner? Talk.
Sure, at some point. Are you here tomorrow?
Yes.
Let's do it. I love it. Okay. Trust it.
Oh my God.
Oh, I loved it.
You're only
You
joking.
talked so much about Acolyte. Do you want a button?
Yes, please, by all means. Oh, this is great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It was really passionate. It was really great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm unsure. In a minute, yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, yes.
I learned a lot.
Okay.
But